Welcome everybody. We will call this meeting to order. This is our regular select board meeting for February 9th, 2022. And are there any adjustments to the agenda?
No, there is not.
No adjustments to the agenda. Okay, so we will move to approval of minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 26, 2022.
And I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of January 26, 2022. Is there any discussion? Seeing as there is none, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, next would be warrants to the treasurer.
I make a motion to approve and execute the warrants to the treasurer as presented upon completion of review.
Second?
I'm sorry, not second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and execute the warrants to the treasurer as presented upon completion of review. So Karen, would like to walk us through.
I don't know. Can I just,
What do you need?
I need to put this in that folder because I don't have a complete. Thank you. Okay. Payroll warrant dated February 11, 2022 in the amount of $20,970.56. There was some overtime for the highway department.
Any questions?
No, looks straight to me.
Okay, good. So accounts payable?
Accounts payable dated January 29 through February 11, 2022 in the amount of $201,222.86. In this warrant is the payment for the loader,
Got it?
$145,000.
Yep.
We took delivery of it and Brian's pleased with it.
Nice.
Good.
Is Simon's more than usual? 20?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
too.
Simon's is 2 months.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
It's January and February.
Okay.
Usually it's around 10, I thought. So
Yes.
Yep. Chapel tractor sales? Just
That
curious.
is for chains for trucks.
Got it.
There's like 4 units.
And Cargill is chemicals, right?
Cargill is salt.
Yep, okay.
All right.
That's it.
Ellie?
I'm
Yeah.
good.
All right, so it has been moved and seconded to approve and execute the warrants to the treasurer upon completion of review, and we have completed review. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so next on our list would be public comment on items not on the agenda.
So Swift is here. She does have a statement that she'd like to read under public comment. And Alan has his hand up as well.
Okay. Swift, if you want to go ahead, and then Alan will get to you.
Sure, and Mark's here too. And I'm going to read the statement that we wrote for Black History Month this February. So thank you for having us. So happy Black History Month 2022. We are a week into celebrating this month that invites us to look back at Black freedom fighters, civil rights leaders, war heroes, and doctors and all they faced. This year's Black History Month theme is Black and Wellness. Black bodies are exponentially affected by the pandemic and receive a lower level of medical care than those with different skin colors, still to this day. Take this month to learn more about these inequities and what you can do. Research from Black doctors and scientists, or investigate how the Flexner report from 19 led to the closing of Black medical schools and how that ripples into present-day medical inequity. In Vermont this week, the Vermont House of Representatives passed an amendment to the state constitution, Proposition 2, that will go to a ballot question. The amendment would repeal language stating that people could be held as servants, slaves, or apprentices with the person's consent or for the payments of debts. It would also add that slavery and indentured servitude in any form are prohibited. While this language refers to something that is not in practice anymore, actions like this could create a safer container for those with ancestors who were slaves and offer clarity in what we stand for, even if it's 100 years late. This simple fact that it has taken till 2022 to remove it demonstrates the unseen layers beneath our foundation. This is a month to remember the sacrifices, pain, and also the momentum of change of those that came before us. A time to understand that we must continue to move forward, not separately, but together, like the dream of King and the heart of Angelou. Let's continue to celebrate one another and become allies so that no one feels like it's impossible. Take this month for reflection, learning, and action. Keep an open mind, open a book, watch a documentary, donate your time or money, come together, and remember change will not come if we wait for some other person of the time. Warmly, Mark Thurman and Swift Everty, co-chairs of the Equity and Inclusion Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't know if there's a way to post that. Last time, the Martin Luther King statement kind of got very hidden in the website. I don't know if there's a way to post it more front and center for the month of February.
So it was posted on the select board page as an attachment with the minutes, and it goes in the equity and inclusion page. So that's, I mean, I can't put a bunch of stuff on the homepage because it just clutters it up. So creating extra links just doesn't work.
Okay. Maybe we can print it and post it someplace and try and get it maybe published somewhere.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Alan.
Oh, Alan, yeah, go ahead. You're on mute, Alan.
Thank you. So the Putney Energy Committee had a discussion last week about, I think it's Article 12 in the warning for the town meeting, which has to do with rescinding the exemption for taxes on solar equipment. And after a rather long discussion, we decided that we would like to recommend against adoption of that warrant, that article, because we feel like the town of Putney and the world in general still needs to strongly support alternative means of producing energy that don't emit carbon dioxide. Our thought was that we would tell the select board today about that, and that we would perhaps write letters to the editor about it and bring it up at the information meeting before town meeting. So I don't, there's any need to go through all of our discussion, but we did feel like this was something that needed further discussion throughout the next year, that perhaps some larger solar commercial projects should be taxed and smaller projects shouldn't be, but we thought it needed more thought before it was just eliminated. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess we would perhaps look for a recommendation ultimately from the Energy Committee as to what that breaking point might be. I mean, as it stands right now, the state statute, I think, is 50 kilowatts, right? So, whether we want to look at much more sizable systems, I don't know, but we would. I would welcome your advice on that.
The Energy Committee is interested in having that discussion and presenting recommendations to the select board.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of a bigger conversation too about other revenue streams and how it affects people in the immediate. And I think it's part of there's many more factors to this conversation.
Yep.
So, yep.
Good. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
All right, any other public comment on items not on the agenda? I don't see anything. So we will next move on to town manager's report.
Okay, quickly. Town report is at the printer. We should have them in-house on Monday to mail out early next week, so hopefully by Tuesday, Wednesday, they'll be in the mail. The audit is available online, and if anybody wants a copy of it, they can request it through town hall. Ballots will be out by tomorrow, so we're stuffing those, and those will all be stamped and put in the mail.
Early voting started today though, technically, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So at this point, it's, if somebody wants to come in tomorrow at town hall, they can definitely vote, but ballots would definitely be out by tomorrow.
And just a reminder for people on that, the place to deliver them, if you want to
Right.
do other than mail, you can mail them, but you can also place them, you can bring them by hand to town hall and give them to somebody if the door's open, or place them in the receptacle right in front of town hall.
Yeah, or you can go to the fire station on March 1st and hand it to them there as well.
Yeah, and or vote in person.
Yep. So FEMA July storm update, River Road project, we expensed $371,651.25. That's with labor. And, it's all calculated based on labor and trucks. And so that is, the number for that project. We will be submitting that particular project this week to FEMA.
To FEMA.
Yeah, there's an extra step to close it out because it's over the $132,000 threshold.
Right.
But that's the bulk of our expenses. So we have expensed about $550,000 from the operating budget. So $371,000 is, that's more than half of what we've expensed. And we have 4 other groups that we have to submit. It's a process, but I think in the end it'll be
And can you,
beneficial.
Big chunk of money.
Yes.
it's a big chunk.
Yes.
If I remember, the line of credit we got was for half a million, right, 500,000?
550.
Right, perfect.
Yeah.
And what's if it's approved by FEMA, then what's the payback again? It's
It's 75% from FEMA, and then it's 17.5% from ERAF, which comes through the state of Vermont. And actually, our line of credit was like 500,000.
500.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that 17 half from the state is 17 of the total cost.
Total cost, and that'll come at the very end, once everything has gone through FEMA.
So that means that rough 92% of this.
8% is ours.
Exactly, will
Right.
get reimbursed,
Right.
so.
Wow, that's great.
So we're gonna try to recapture as much as we can in this fiscal year, which ends June 30. And then the rest, obviously, will be in. If we can capture it before the end of August, we can also put that in this year.
Yeah,
So we'll see how that works out.
So the ERAF, that's a separate process?
Yes.
So you do FEMA first and then you
Yes,
re-enter something else and somewhere else? Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
wouldn't want to make it simple.
No.
No, nothing simple. Yeah, I already touched base on the loader. Property tax payment installment number 3 is due February 18th, which is next Friday by 4 p.m. Any unpaid balances will be charged 8% penalty. So I just want to let the public know, next Friday, February 18th, your 3rd installment is due. The office will be open to the public all day. So you can drop off your payments, you can put them in the secure lockbox. If you mail them, you take a chance that they're not going to get here on time.
So they have to be in hand, it's not postmarked?
Not postmarked, no.
Okay.
There's an online payment.
And there is an
system.
online payment system as well.
Which you can do, I believe, both debit and credit cards for,
Yeah.
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
ACH, I believe, yeah.
ACH,
Yeah.
As well.
debit,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
But that 8% gets attached to that bill if it's not here by 4 o'clock on Friday. So you want to pay attention to that.
yeah. I want to remind the board, as Board of Civil Authority, the deadline for comments on reapportionment for districts are due February 15th, 2022. If you have any comments, you need to send them to John Johnson. So he sent everyone an email.
Yeah.
So we used to, I don't know if I'll explain this right, but so districts have been changed. We had 2 representatives, we're now down to 1.
Well, that's the
But we're a
proposal.
slightly smaller area.
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
You're right.
The
So
physical
it's-
It used to be
district has been changed too.
it used to be 2 for Putney, Dummerston, Westminster, and
Yes.
now it's 1 for Putney, Dummerston,
Yeah.
and
Bennington.
And a little bit of Westminster, I thought, but
I don't,
Bennington? What?
Bennington.
Bennington?
yeah,
No,
that would,
no.
that's a different district from us.
Yeah.
that would be some gerrymandering.
Yeah,
No, yeah, so it's a proposal, it's not, it hasn't happened yet.
No.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly where it is in the system, but this is our second chance to comment on it.
Right.
and do we as a select board feel the need to?
Well, I'm not gonna explain this correctly, so I probably shouldn't try, but there was some pushback to try to retain the 2 by adding Brookline or something to that effect. So again, don't quote me, but that was the original BCA's recommendation back in August.
RBCA.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, wasn't clear that we didn't need to meet and do another session, but if anybody had any additional comments to support our original argument, I guess,
Right.
we should send them on too.
And it's a it's a BCA purview, not select board purview.
Right,
Right.
but we're on the BCA,
Yeah.
so that's why we
By
have.
default.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah,
I just wanted to give you the opportunity.
thank you.
You're welcome. Sandglass Theater is putting in a USDA grant. It's due on February 28th. If you recall last year, they have a new director over there too. So I'm working with Ginger and Eric, and we're gonna pull it together. I will need a resolution from the board, but on the 23rd, I will present that. And it's kind of like a pass-through, they need our
We're going to use it for
support.
laptops or tablets and upgrading some
Yeah.
computer issues, right?
But the number's gotten a lot larger, which I told them that's probably better,
Yeah.
because the amount of effort we have to put into this grant, just put whatever you can in it, and they've looked at everything, and they're gonna, I don't know what that number is yet. I'll know more next week, so I've been meeting with them once a week. And one other item, I'm going to just let the select board know that we do have a junkyard certificate of approved location that came across my desk. That also will go on the agenda for February 23rd.
And what location is that?
That is off of Easttown Farm, Upper Cassidy.
Okay.
So
Okay,
that's all I have.
that's all you have? Good. Okay, yes, thank you. So we've got, next on our agenda is select board items for discussion and action, and we've got quite a few, several of which we've already had fairly significant discussion about.
Exactly,
So, I'm gonna try and keep us moving through them as reasonably readily as we can, but First up is our hazard mitigation internal review and comments. And I would invite, well, you want to introduce that or,
Sure.
or Alyssa? Yeah.
No, I can introduce Alyssa Sabetto with Windham Regional Commission. Has been working with the town of Putney to get our hazard mitigation plan updated. We've kind of done a streamlined process only because of the storm and it had expired. So we invited other groups, Planning Commission, Conservation Commission, Wetlands Committee, and other folks in Putney to review the first draft. So comments came back. We've done the internal review, and this is the point we're at right now. So there were a couple items that were brought to our attention that I thought perhaps the select board should know about and have a short discussion. Because these two items we've been asked to put them into the plan. So if you put anything into the plan, then you have to implement within a 5-year period. And two of these items, we need clarification on one, but the Sand Hill Road is, it's a big ask. So Alyssa, do you want to take it from here or do you want me to keep trying to explain this?
Sure, I can take it. So just to clarify there, the items in the mitigation action table aren't required to be completed within 5 years. I mean, that's your goal, but there isn't, there isn't any punishment or whatever for not doing those actions. It's simply what the town is hoping to do within the next 5 years. So, one of the actions that was, one of the comments, I should say, that came back was involved eliminating Sand Hill Road, closing it off for use, and that was not something, some comments I can simply, take in, alter the draft accordingly and move along. But something like that, I couldn't just do that, so I approached Karen about it, and she suggested bringing it forward just to this meeting to provide an additional opportunity to comment as well as a discussion about this comment, and then just a couple of other things. So I guess I'm looking for feedback on or whether how you want to address that feedback that was received around Sand Hill Road.
So
I'm having a really hard time hearing what
Yeah,
you're
it's
saying.
breaking up, so
Yeah, our internet connection got
unstable.
unstable for
I think I understood that one of the recommendations was to ask to close Sand Hill Road to
Yes.
car traffic?
Yeah,
Huh,
to vehicle traffic.
To vehicle, yeah.
And just
you
for
had this conversation.
historical
in the past.
context, yes,
Yeah.
we've talked about this a handful of times in the past. One of the discussions that has come up was the question of whether there could be the problem is we need Sand Hill
Yeah.
Road
Yeah.
for a variety of reasons, but particularly for emergency response and also for a bypass to town
Across
in the
road,
case
yeah.
of closure of town. The closure of the bridge being a perfect
Exactly.
example of that.
Yep.
But there has been discussion in the past of the possibility of having gates, operable gates at each end that the emergency services could have access to. The challenge of that, Tom certainly is not a fan of that idea. And primarily the challenge being maintenance and how to keep it fully functional if it's not being used regularly. I also, my own personal feeling, I totally get why that would be appealing. That makes sense. But I think that it would increase traffic through the village,
Right.
which might be detrimental, and that it's, for better or for worse, it's a very heavily used road. You know, it would really change the traffic patterns in Putney.
So
It would.
what's the reason for wanting to close it? Can I understand what's behind that?
I'm not the one who brought it forward.
So I think one of the reasons is that well, first of all, it's going to flood out again. So
Yes.
it's going to cost the town a fair amount of money to repair that road every single time it floods. But the primary reason is that it bisects a wetland, and that it has the potential to flood out the village if it's not managed correctly. So,
Meaning it acts like a dam, and then if it breaks, the dam breaks. Is that what you're saying?
pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So the whole wetland and the whole stream is sort of disconnecting itself from what it used to be, and there's a lot of concern about what the water would do in a flood once it got down to the village.
I can speak.
Yeah.
So it's not, I mean, and it's not, that would be the main reason.
Right, I spoke to Brian Harlow, road superintendent, and he said it's not a good idea. It is a crossroad, traffic would impact the village.
Yeah.
And it will totally cut off East Putney. So they'll have to come down but if there's something going on, they're totally shut off. There's no crossroad for East Putney to come to this side.
So,
I know a lot of people use that road. I know I use that road when I'm hauling lumber back from my sawmill. I don't want to go through town. I try to avoid town. It's safer, I think,
Right.
that way. I understand the possibility of flooding for sure. Maybe we ought to look at, if we decide to keep it, which I think we should. I think it serves far more people using vehicles than it does the problems it might cause. And the pressure it takes off of town, and the fact that we have an option. Keeping roadway options open, as we know from the July 29th storm, is really important.
Right.
We had 13 roads that washed out, and if there weren't other roads that we could use, we would have been even more inconvenienced than we are. And there's a road that certainly could be improved, but it's a whole lot better than it used to be.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think that it warrants, I know you've noticed you have a traffic study going on Old Route 5. I think this situation warrants a traffic study. We know that traffic could be displaced this way, but it would be interesting to know exactly what the impact of that would be.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that you just approved an application for a geomorphic study, a study of Sackett's Brook and why it's separating from its floodplains, and generally, and there's problems behind Putney Central School with the flooding of the wet meadow, which makes it hard for kids to get into the forest where their classrooms are. And maybe that entire look could include, I'm pretty sure any specialist who's coming under that funding would look at the impact of man-made structures or actions on what's going on with the wetland and the road. I personally am intrigued by the idea of making the wetland section a pent road.
Sorry, a what?
A pent road, that's where you put gates up at either end.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
still a town road, but it's gated.
Pent?
Yeah, I think that's the term for
Yeah,
it.
Okay.
it is.
Yeah, it's very old fashioned.
I'm having trouble hearing you, that's all. It's
Yeah,
not-
no, it's the mask.
I know,
I've
I
upgraded.
love these things.
Now, I think that's the old-fashioned term for a road like that. But
I just
anyway,
came
yeah,
across that term just the other day, oddly enough.
yeah. But anyway, the gates at either end.
So,
And that would solve the problem of the people who use the road recreationally, or to bird watch, or to photograph. They would sort of have it to themselves, and then when there was an emergency, it would still be there for, Tom to use, or whatever. And we do have problems with people who speed, we do have problems with trucks. that might be a solution. That's just my personal opinion. I haven't discussed this at length. We
Yeah.
did write a different evaluation of Sand Hill Road for the hazard mitigation plan from the Wetland Committee, which took a lot of your points under consideration. But I think
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
All of the reasons that Eileen mentioned for closing it are irrelevant if we keep the road open for emergency use. The road would have to be maintained in the same way. We would have to spend just as much to maintain it. It wouldn't affect any of the flooding issues. So I think it only makes sense if we were thinking of that we wanted to restrict it to pedestrian use for recreational purposes. And that's a different question. But I can't see that if we're going to save it for emergency use, it's not going to save us any money or affect any of the flooding issues.
yeah, if you want to get rid of it, that's also perfectly fine with me.
But if we keep,
It doesn't sound like the conversation's going over.
but if we keep it open for pedestrian use, we still have to keep it open for pedestrian use. And so if it's no longer our road, then who pays for that? Does the town pay for that?
Well, I think
But
we,
it would just be a,
I mean-
it would just be a slowly degrading class 4 road. like
exactly.
the other ones.
We wouldn't throw it up.
I mean, so I am theoretically in favor of closing that road, and I just want to say that I haven't been here long enough to see that road as a need. And I did see that it was closed for 2 months or 3 months. It was not one of the first roads that we repaired, so, you know, if it was really that important for emergency use, I would have thought we would have done that. Just saying. I'm not advocating really either way. I do feel like it needs to be brought up again because it will flood out again. It will wash all of that material into the wetland, and we'll have to rebuild it again and again and again because it will happen again.
Yeah, I mean, I would just point out to you that you did see it used as an alternate when the bridge was closed
Yep.
in town. And it has been an alternate a number of times, you know,
Halloween.
well,
Yeah,
Halloween,
yeah, I think
but
that's-
when the general store burned, when there have been
Exactly.
fires at the paper mill,
Right.
you know, it definitely is an alternative. And, you know, there are the other alternative is to
Ways.
go all the way up to exit 5 and use the highway, but that's a significant detour for people.
Right.
But that's the only, Pigger, I suppose, no, you can't get there from there, but.
Town Farm is not passable anymore. No, it's not.
So,
You're gonna go all the way to Patch Road.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So, what the question I have is the number of people affected not being able to use it for a vehicle as opposed to the benefits for people look in the wetland. If, like Alan was saying, if we're gonna keep it open to emergency services, we should keep it open so people can use it. And if
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Can I make a comment?
David was not done yet, so even no.
I'm sorry.
Please, David, if you go ahead and finish.
It seems like the way I feel about it is we need to see how it serves the most people the best. If people use it enough so that it's really that important, that there's an option in case the bridge is out, in case there's a fire for whatever reason, and that serves the greatest number of people, then that's the most important thing, even if we have to repair it when it washes out.
Eva,
Yes, I agree with David. Now, I only lived here since 1969, and I was in the Westminster Fire Department and with the first response squad down around here. And I'm telling you, leave the goddamn road open.
That should be fun.
I'm telling
Tell
you,
us.
I go down there, drive my car down there and look at birds. I love it. But I'm telling you, it's a mistake to even think about closing that road. It's a wonderful access road. And it's time that we don't diddly squat around things like this. There's a lot of things on the agenda. And I think there's naivety on the idea that it'll be a walking path and so on and so forth. We really need to think about the big picture here.
Can I make another comment too?
yes.
So this is gonna take a little while to like talk about and like tease out. I wouldn't put this in the hazard mitigation plan now. I would wait until we had more information.
Yep.
Because that grant will help with that.
If we get it right.
Right.
Yeah.
But that'll give us more information. I don't feel we have enough information to make this decision right here and now.
Yeah,
And-
doesn't sound like it, no.
Yeah.
A couple other, I mean, I think it would be interesting to do a traffic study, just out of
Yeah, that's a
curiosity.
good
I mean, I don't know
idea.
whether it
Yeah,
warrants that. But the other thing is that road is constructed intentionally to be able to flood over. We know that it's a road that gets flooded and that we have to do work to. You know, the last time this conversation came up and the last time we explored, you know, improvements to that road, we debated putting larger culverts and having them more often so that the more water could flow, but inevitably at some point that would flood. That would put the recommendation was to stay with a low road so that when it gets to that flooding point, it does in fact flood and it doesn't create a dam. So it's been intentionally maintained in that respect from there. And then I'd love to hear whether Alyssa has
Well, that was what I wanted to
yeah.
ask.
Alyssa, do you have an opinion about it, or are you able to offer an opinion?
I don't have an opinion about it. This is the town's plan, so it's the choice that the town wants to make. I can see the value of it for emergency services. I can see that the ecological impacts of it are there too. I would say a couple of things. I would say I can talk with Jeff Nugent about trying to get a traffic count on the road to kind of gauge the use with actual data and not just, well, I use it, but I don't, that kind of thing. And I think that at this point, as far as including it in the plan, I don't think there's any action around it. At this point, you don't know what you want to do with it. So I would say I can put it in the plan that it's being considered what to do with the road, whether to keep it or not, and that, there's this kind of discussion I can put in words a little bit. I don't think it needs to be a big part of the plan at all. But I think that just keeping it open and keeping it as in the plan because it's still active is wise. But yeah, I don't think that there's going to be enough time left over with what makes sense for the comment periods for this to be decided and have the data and everything to help with the decision. So that's what I would say for that issue on your plan.
Okay, thank you. Do we need to discuss other things about so this is an opportunity to comment on the hazard mitigation. Are there other things we need to explore in order for you to keep moving forward, or is that the only topic that we really need to address here now tonight?
That was the largest one.
Right.
I did talk with Karen today about some specifics, which I think she's clarified enough on those, Karen. I think we're good on the rest of what I had emailed you.
Okay.
I will just ask if there are any further comments at this time.
Anne, are you all set?
I'm just curious what the town-owned Woodlands item is.
Yeah.
Is that my suggestion or
No.
not?
Yeah, and we had come up with a kind of I guess the feeling so Anne had proposed a goal added to the plan, which is keep town-owned woods and wetlands as areas of carbon storage and sequestration. And that would be somewhat, that would be very restrictive for what you could do for your town-owned lands. And so I had proposed this alternative statement which is development on town-owned lands will seek to preserve and maximize carbon sequestration potential while still achieving the goals of the development.
That sounds
So that
better.
kind of leaves it more of an open thing, with the idea that anything that was done on any town and land would have that as a consideration, and efforts would be, but that would be tried to be maximized. Does that make sense to you all?
That feels better to me.
That jeopardizes all of our conservation sites, which are town-owned, where we do not want, development is off the table and logging is also off the table. That's the Beatrice Aiken, the Bear Hill Conservation Site, the Sockets Brook Conservation Site, the Wilson Wetland. All of these were voted by town meeting to be kept as forested areas and for recreation. And a broad statement that those are going to go back on the table for potential development is no. It has to be stated differently.
I think,
That's one point.
Yeah.
I have a second one, but I can wait.
Well, I think that what Alyssa is saying is not a blanket statement that, I mean, those are all under easement.
Right.
No,
So, they're not?
I was not aware of that, so
They're not.
if they're all under easement, then you're.
No, Ann is saying they aren't, sorry, I
They
misspoke.
were voted as conservation sites, I don't remember which town meeting, and they have been held as conservation sites since then. And the Beatrice Aiken, we have a letter from George Aiken saying he would like to have it maintained as a bird sanctuary and wildflower sanctuary for the Beatrice Aiken. But these are not under easement at the moment. I would love it if they were. And I also don't know why, like the sewage plant and the town garage wouldn't also want to keep their forested sections. I mean, they're flood hazard areas for the town garage land. I just want to make sure that this doesn't go off the wrong way, because what I'm saying is we're in a critical situation with climate change right now, and to just take development and logging off the table for these lands would be at least for 8 years till 2030, so we see if we're headed down the road to ultimate disaster, or if it might help. Any little thing that anybody can do to help promote carbon sequestration is having these trees there growing and storing and then taking in carbon, and then carbon storage is carbon storage. It just sits there stored. But I really think this is an issue where we could do something. It wouldn't really change what we're doing right now.
Well, I think what we would need to do, and we should address this, is we should look at, there are different town-owned properties.
Exactly.
So we would need to establish the ones, I mean, ones that have been, I don't assume this statement applies to, for example, Beatrice Aiken. I mean, I think that that's off the table. But, for example, the parcel that we own on Route 5 that was given to us by Nat Hendricks, that is a piece of, I mean, it's great carbon storage and it's a great natural piece of land. It's also a potential site for the town to grow to in different ways that we haven't yet thought about or considered. And I think taking that off the table would be a mistake. So I think
I agree.
I think that would be very good to put into the same category. But
Yeah,
that could be discussed, but.
That's too restrictive, I think.
Well, okay, so I agree that we shouldn't back the town into a corner with all of its town lands. I also agree that we should take a stock of which town lands would have any kind of development potential that the town would ever want to use. I also agree that there needs to be some kind of clarification as to the lands that are totally off limits, because those were voted in, they could also be voted out.
Yes.
Right.
So I think there's like at least 3 separate issues here.
Yeah.
I don't know if it belongs in this plan here. But I think we need to clarify all 3 of those things.
if I could just weigh in for a minute.
Yeah.
I think that you're right. This is a hazard mitigation plan. It's not a land use plan.
Right.
So it really is not the place to make land use decisions like what you're talking about. I would say just don't include it at all. And then you're not making a statement in either direction. We'll just eliminate that. And then, those decisions can be made in your town plan.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, I think there's
Planning-
pieces in the
planning
energy
commission.
committee, energy committee plan, energy plan and
Yeah.
the conservation piece may be the better place to
Yeah.
put those things.
Yeah, so I'll eliminate that. And other than that, I think that the other stuff is more straightforward for what Karen gave me. And then just to let you know, so my goal is to finalize the draft and get it out for public comment early next week. It'll go out for a period of 2 weeks. Karen did ask me to participate in the next select board meeting on the 23rd, just to provide an additional opportunity for public comment during that time. But it'll just be, basically, it's easier to email me comments that anyone would have or call me, with substantive comments. So it'll be out for a period of 2 weeks, and then in early March, it'll be submitted up to Vermont Emergency Management and hopefully get pre-approved, and the process will slowly finalize. So we're near the end of it, but I just wanted to thank you for your time weighing in on those comments.
Thank you. And you had your hand up, you all said, or?
Well, just in terms of evaluating what to do with the land, the upland forests are hazard mitigation, have hazard mitigation attributes in terms of making sure streams have clean water and that flooding is reduced.
Yeah.
That's all.
Something else, you good?
Is
Okay,
Eva all
good.
set?
Thank you all. Eva, you've got your hand up, but I think that was from before, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Not now, I don't have my hand up, I already said enough, didn't I?
Okay. All right, so thank you, Alyssa, and we will see you at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
So next is Putney Mountain Association request for a letter of support from Pat Shields. Have you both had an opportunity to review that?
Yes.
Jordy is here. If you want.
Oh, to talk about that? I'm guessing, I'm very happy to hear you talk about it, Jordy. I'm guessing you're largely going to get support from this board.
Yep.
And so I just would encourage you to relay what you need and be brief.
Okay, I can be brief. I think the letter pretty much says, if you've had a chance to read it, everything that I would need to say. I can answer questions if there are any.
You want to give us a 30-second review of what this parcel is and why it's important?
Sure. This is 142 acres in Putney and Brookline along the crest of the ridge, just south of the Putney Town Forest, where the main Putney Mountain main parking area is. So, and bordered on the south by the Conti National Wildlife Refuge. And we have a trail license that goes through the Hinton Woods, we're calling it Hinton property, that goes down to our properties off, Putney Mountains properties off of Holland Hill. And this is one of the few privately held non-easement links on the whole ridge between the Pinnacle Association and Putney Mountain Association, between Holland Hill and the Pinnacle. And we've been wanting to purchase it for over a quarter century, and we now are having that option, and we are applying for a significant grant from Vermont Housing Conservation Board. And this is a letter in support of that.
Good, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I don't.
I do not.
It does not look like it. So I would entertain a motion to approve letter of support from the Putney Mountain Association to the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board.
I think it's actually from us to,
Oh, yeah, you
Yes.
might be right. Sorry, from me, in fact.
in
yeah.
fact, yeah, it says your
Yes.
name on it right there.
So I would entertain, next what I just said, and say, I would entertain a motion to approve the writing, well, maybe I should read this. Maybe I'll
Sure.
read
Well,
this
yeah,
and
why don't
then,
you do that?
and then make a motion. So the letter reads, the letter that has been presented to us is the town of Putney, it's to Miss Karen Freeman at the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, RE, the Putney Mountain Association Hinton Woods Project. The town of Putney is pleased to support Putney Mountain Association's Hinton Woods Project located in Putney and Brookline, Vermont. Putney Mountain Association, PMA, faithfully stewards our town forest, which is adjacent to the Hinton Woods. They have completed many hours of volunteer time to maintain a highly desirable trail system on the ridgeline. Their trails are valued, heavily used, and a year-round asset for residents. The trail across Hinton Woods, which connects to PMA's southern trails, is open to public access currently only through a temporary trail license granted by the owners. This project will make that access permanent. The project will conserve and protect forested lands on the Windmill Ridge, assuring wildlife connectivity and the ability of the forest to continue storing and sequestering carbon. Importantly, the Hinton Woods varied landscape will support wildlife and plant resilience in the face of rapid climate change. We wholeheartedly support this project. Thank you for considering the Putney Mountain Association's request for Vermont Housing and Conservation Board funding.
So I make a motion to approve the letter of support as written.
And I'll second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the letter of support as written. I'm happy to support it as written. I would also, I hadn't noticed this before, but their trails are valued, heavily used, and a year-round asset for residents. You might want to add residents and a whole lot of others, because there's a lot of other people that use these, so that may be irrelevant, but if you wanted to, you'd have my permission to.
What, remove residents?
No, just add residents and others.
Okay.
So you don't have to do that, but if that would be a friendly amendment, if they choose to.
Yeah, I'll make a friendly amendment to add and others.
And I'll second that.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the letter of support to the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board. And if there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Thank you, Doherty.
Thank you.
So Josh, I'm gonna have to make that change and have you sign it tonight,
Oh, okay.
because it's due,
Okay.
okay?
Sounds good. Sorry to complicate it. But,
It's okay.
right. Okay, so next on our agenda, Putney Affordable Housing Advisory Committee recommendation from Mike Mrowicki. Mike, I haven't seen Mike here, but we have an email or a letter from Mike asking.
Here, if you want it.
Good morning. Former Housing Committee member Eva Mondin has agreed to rejoin the committee. I'm recommending her appointment at the next meeting of the Putney Selectboard. Thank you. I have had a personal conversation with Eva, and she is willing and interested to serve on this committee. I have also had the pleasure of serving on that committee with her in the past, and I believe she would be a valuable addition. So unless there's any objection, if somebody wants to make a motion to that effect.
Make a motion to approve Eva Mondin as a member of the Affordable Housing Committee.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve Eva Mondin as an appointee to the, let's see, this is exactly how it's, Putney Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. Is there any further discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oops, we
Good,
lost-
thank you. Uh-oh, something just changed.
What happened?
Sorry.
Karen's
Oh, there we go.
Googling stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to like get the link up to the select board packet.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's on the website.
Okay, so next is the Development Review Board reorganization request. And Pip is here. We've already had this discussion. And we have since received a letter of opinion from Garrett Baxter, who's senior counsel at the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and the recommendation based on the fact that you can't technically have a quorum. A quorum is constituted by a majority of members of the actual allocated board size, not just the members that are currently appointed. So in fact, you have to, as it stands right now, they have to have all 5 of their sitting members present and voting to have a viable vote on anything. So, Pip, I don't know whether you, my guess is this board would be ready to approve this recommendation. I don't know whether you want to add anything.
No, as long as you got the letter from Garrett and you know what I know, which answered the question that was open-ended at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Correct.
Which is vacancies matter.
Yeah. So,
And just a reminder that Karen has done this nice job of preparing this resolution for you. I think that she'll be cooking up another one for the planning commission.
yeah.
My memory is that the planning commission also,
Bottom of this, bottom, it's the next page.
is,
Oh, this, you know.
the planning commission should be 5.
okay, so you,
Yeah, the draft resolution is
It's-
with
Sorry.
Larry.
Mine was attached to the.
oh, here, yeah, no, I see
Okay, all
it,
right.
yeah.
The only question I have here is whether we really should be putting the members, in the resolution.
I know, it was in the last one, Eileen,
Yeah,
and I feel the same way, only because these terms too are gonna change.
Yeah,
yeah,
So,
I would eliminate it,
yeah,
definitely.
can we just eliminate that?
And just have it defined as 5 people, 5
Yeah.
members.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it'll be a staggering 3-year term as well, and I don't know how that's gonna sort out once we go down to 5.
I think we all know what a staggering 3-year term feels like.
Except for
I can say I do.
That was a good one. So I will await Larry's review
Okay,
and then bring this back to the board.
is that gonna mess anybody up?
I don't think so, if you vote and then contingent
Oh, upon,
So,
contingent
right.
upon,
All right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Because I know they have a meeting on the 15th,
the
right?
15th of February is their next meeting.
okay, so I would entertain a resolution, entertain a motion to approve Town of Putney Development Review Board resolution, which establishes this as it's the same as the previous resolution, except it establishes it as a 5-person board instead of a 9-person board,
Correct.
and to remove the names that are included in it.
Right,
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
Oh, contingent on,
Contingent on legal,
On legal
yes.
counsel's review.
Yeah,
Got it.
okay, so it has been moved and seconded to approve the Development Review Board resolution to decrease their appointments to a number of 5, to remove the names from the resolution, and we will approve it contingent upon approval by legal counsel. Is there any further discussion?
Laura,
Go
I
ahead,
have another
Laura.
question.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just thought there was discussion previously about alternates if the 5 members were not all present and sitting. Is that,
I think there's a part in here that actually, there's
It
a
does address it.
piece that says, be it further resolved that the board may appoint up to 3 alternate members of the Development Review Board whose terms would be 1 year.
okay, thank you very much.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, seeing as.
No, this is Janice. I have
Oh,
a question.
go ahead.
I haven't been privy to all these votes that have happened previously with the Development Review Board, so I don't know if this is a germane question. But were there votes taken where there wasn't a legitimate quorum, taking into account the number of vacancies? And if so, would those votes still be valid?
Pip, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think that we have been okay.
Yeah.
We've opened up meetings with 5 and then gone to switch to a public hearing where a member has recused themselves so that there were 4 people undertaking consideration of the decision. And I think that that works. It's the consensus of the majority. Those 4 have to be in agreement. And that's the way it's been working so far. We almost always have all 5 participating. It's only, I can think of only one recently where we had a recusal. So I think we've been fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no
But the
further.
board was 9, so you were at 5. Okay. I'm
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and the quorum is, it's the requirement to have the quorum present, but I think if one person is recusing, they're still present, they're just not voting on it, so.
Right.
All
That's
right,
helpful. Thank you.
yeah. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, good, thank you. Thank you, Pep. Okay, next on the agenda, sorry, I'm starting to get a little lost here, is the Old Route 5 traffic study report results. Karen?
So in your packet, Kathleen Bartlett had spoke to us about getting a traffic count for Old Route 5. These are the results. Interestingly, it shows, the speed of the vehicles, what they are, and, how much traffic is either going north or south. In this particular report, more traffic's going north into the village. So we can only assume
Okay.
they're coming from Carroll Brown Way that go off
Yeah.
and turning back into the village to go north.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's the way that I always go out.
Yeah,
It's
just gonna say that's
easier
what-
than going all the way around,
Right.
yeah.
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 This traffic report also, with the proposed Windham Windsor Housing Trust project for Alice Holloway Drive, this report does not impact the traffic consultant's report from that project. We'll have to see. A traffic count wasn't done like the one on Old Route 5. So it'll be interesting to see how the traffic flows. But in our next item for the select board, we segue into Alice Holloway. But I'm not quite sure at this point. We have this information, which is good. We talked about sidewalks on Old Route 5. I still have not come across any drawings. I'm still looking, Josh. But with Carroll Brown Way and Alice Holloway, we might be able to make some decisions about Old Route 5 and see what happens.
Did the
So-
Alice Holloway traffic study take into account traffic on Old Route 5? Or did it just stop on those Carroll Brown Way and,
It was Carroll Brown Way, because I sent this to
Okay.
Windham Windsor Housing Trust. They sent it on to their traffic consultant.
okay.
So-
I'm just wondering if if the project went through, would the traffic pattern then
Change.
impact this? Yeah. Hard to say, I guess.
It's hard to say. I mean, if I have to guess, most of that traffic is gonna stay on Alice Holloway and get to Route 5
Yeah,
as quickly as they can.
right.
Because
Right,
they're
they wouldn't go
parking.
around the other way.
Right,
There's
right.
no reason for them to.
Right,
So it's a short, like, I don't know. 50
Yeah, it's
feet
right
that they
there.
would Just get onto Route
Yeah.
5, yeah.
yep, they take the left and get right on to
Right.
Alice Holloway and then go left or right.
Right, and if they were foot traffic, they would go probably the other way.
Right, right.
Yeah,
So sidewalks would be a good thing.
right.
I can't imagine there's a way that could be projected
No, I'm
realistically, so.
Just trying to think if you,
yeah.
you know, you were somebody who
Whether
was
there will be additional impact.
parking there,
Yeah.
where you would go, I guess.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
So it's totally anecdotal, but
Yeah,
So at this point, Windham Regional Commission will write up an actual report. But this is just raw data right here.
good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next is the Alice Holloway speed limit traffic calming and right and left turns onto Route 5.
All right, so it's been brought to our attention that the select board should look at Alice Holloway. Right now, it's like at 35 miles an hour. The traffic consultant that did the report for that proposed project recommends it be like 25. Also, the parking on Alice Holloway right in front of Putney Meadows,
yeah.
is that something the town wants to keep? Do we want to try some traffic calming to, slow traffic down even further in that area? And the other item is coming off of Alice Holloway onto Route 5. In the plans, there's a turn to either go left or right. So it's like one lane, you either go right or left. So the state hasn't weighed in on that. And I need to talk to Brian a little more about it. But that's something the town will need to consider too, because you're changing the traffic pattern at the end of that road.
Where it intersects Route 5?
Yeah.
And so the option would be to have a left and a right turn
Yes.
lane instead of just one.
Yeah,
And 35 for that road, I mean, you're gonna have to try pretty hard to get up to 35 and that length of the road.
Yeah.
So 25 makes a lot of sense.
This
So,
is plan.
I think we could even set it at 20.
yeah, maybe, yeah, sure.
I don't know if I can get it. Hang on. Let's see, let's go back here. Sorry,
It just
people.
widens it a little bit to the south.
Yeah, but it changes it too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was originally constructed to have that.
Those are wide already, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about like a left lane turn and a right lane turn, is that what we're?
Exactly.
Okay,
So
right here.
right, a center lane that's a left lane.
Right.
And,
And see how this curb cut, it
right,
winds
already
up
does
there.
that.
Yeah, it already does that, too,
Yeah,
right.
so,
I just want to mention that the Energy Committee met with Peter Paggi about solar panels and energy conservation in general, but also specifically about car chargers for the public use. And they intimated that there would be some use, they might be able to put one over here, but they also suggested that a better place would be on these parking spots.
yeah.
Especially for like a fast charger. So,
Why would they think that's better?
because this is private property.
It's more accessible.
And also it's more accessible and it would just, you don't want members of the public basically
Inviting them in there to use the charger.
Yeah, because these,
Exactly.
they're for the use of the residents.
Right.
And also they're going for grants for level 2 chargers. Level 3 charger is beyond the scope of that, so if the town were to do that, it would make more sense to put it over in a public space.
And then who would be responsible for the electrical bill related to that if it were?
I don't really know exactly how they work, but like
Yeah.
ChargePoint or EVgo, they charge the customer.
Oh,
So you
okay.
have an account and then you tap your card, and then you get your charge, and it's $1.
So it
Per
would
kilowatt or
not be
something
a
like that.
municipal charger per
No.
se?
No, unless we chose to foot the bill, but I don't think we would do that.
Right.
Yeah, so it's all customer.
And just because I haven't been watching this, how many chargers are they putting in the whole compound?
I think they said they were making definite room for 1 or 2 in here, and then they were putting in the cables for more if they wanted to. And I don't know, we discussed one over here. Wasn't sure if they were actually gonna go ahead with that or not, because this is the not hard pack, this is the, what do they call that?
Sure pack.
It's like it's not sure pack, it's like the
Pavers or
pavers,
something?
yeah,
Yeah.
the permeable pavers.
Yeah.
Um,
So crosswalks also were at
oh,
least one
crosswalks, yeah,
right here.
right here, yeah,
Yep.
that makes sense.
So those are things that the select board and, Brian Harlow, road superintendent, will have to,
And the bus stop would still be over there, or are they planning to move that maybe closer over here? Is that it?
we didn't even talk
I
about
would,
that.
I would think you'd want to keep the bus stop back from the
Back.
intersection with Route
Right.
5, at
Yeah,
least
makes
some.
Right,
Well, but also, I mean, you're serving this community with a bus stop, but you're also serving
Right.
the rest
Everybody
of the
else,
community. So
Yeah,
and Putney
but-
Meadows and,
yeah,
I would encourage there to be a whole lot more chargers in there, but maybe if they're putting the
I
infrastructure
don't
in.
remember, yeah, I think they were putting the infrastructure in and going out for a grant to actually put the chargers in.
yeah.
Um,
The other thing too is a center line, because right now.
It's not painted.
Right.
Right.
And the helipad too is gonna be moved down to the town garage.
Deb, do you have a question?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
thank you. I've been waiting patiently. My driveway is on Old Route 5 South, and Kathy Bartlett and I have noticed a lot more traffic. It also tends to be a place where people like to walk.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of roads and how you're going to put in sidewalks or whatever, you really need to think hard how much more traffic we're going to be seeing in that area. Out in front of the fire station is going to get a lot more congested. And I usually when I drive home, I go up that road, but I would probably go in front of the co-op. Like, but as you know, is a one-way road, and that road is quite often got potholes, and it's a terrible road. But the entire town drives through that one-way road, and then they leave and they drive by where I live, and it's a really complicated circle and triangle that's connected, and I think you're going to see a lot more people going up Route 5. So I think addressing how the traffic flows there is really important too. But you really have to, I think we really have to think about how much more congested that area, which is a high impact area, and also the Route 5 where the co-op is, there's another triangle on that side. It's just, anyway, as far as the traffic flow, I have put together some ideas, not ideas, but maps that show that, because I'm in the middle of it, and I've noticed so much more traffic in our town. Anyway, what I wanted to know about the traffic is how can I find the information from the traffic study? And I don't think you should be making decisions until you have a real traffic study about how many people use those roads, those little tiny roads that are used by everyone in the town. If you go to the co-op, you can't leave without either driving by this new property, apartment facility, or driving out Old Route 5 South. And frankly, the corner of Carroll Brown Way at Old Route 5 South is really funky. Sometimes there's not even a road there. So those all things really need to be looked at. I know these roads pretty well because I've lived there now for 20 years. And so I'd like to know about the traffic study and where I can find that information. And I'm guessing Karen has the answer to that.
I do. Right now it's.
Can you hear me okay? Am I?
Yes.
I'm actually I'm in Tampa, Florida, taking care of my mom's house.
So Karen, I would say you can email Karen and she can get a copy of I mean, this is just data. It's not actual traffic study yet. It's just the raw data.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be interesting to know how many people drive by my house. We don't have a walking study though, but I think every time I go out my driveway, there's at least 4 people walking on the road there.
Yeah.
People really love that, being
Yeah.
able to walk.
So
So
Deborah,
encouraging that and making it safe is a good plan.
Deborah,
All right, that's all I had to
Oh my
say.
God.
Thank you.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead,
lower
Karen.
my hand now.
So that information is already on the website. If you go to the select board page,
Oh, is it? Okay.
yeah. And
Thank you.
it's the packet that's for the meeting tonight. It's in that information.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Louise.
Louise Garfield, I know I tuned in late and I just had an important phone call. Has anybody on Select Board or Karen or DRB responded to my request that there be a traffic study on Holway Drive that might pertain more to the housing project than the 6-year-old study from Route 5?
Yes, we talked to Peter Paggi. He contacted Windham Regional Commission to do a traffic count like we did on Old Route 5. And they don't put them out in the wintertime, only because of the snow plows.
That's a good point.
That'd be a very short traffic
So,
study.
yeah, that type of a traffic count should have been done during the summertime.
It definitely should have been done at some point with the WWHT proposal, whether it's summer or fall, but.
Well, they had a traffic study done, so a traffic consultant, there's a traffic report.
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Okay, after you're
Sorry.
finished, Louise.
Is there any effort to put the entrance into the housing trust development, right from Route 5 straight into it rather than complicating?
No, there is not.
Okay.
That's not part of the proposal.
Yeah.
Let me know the effective date of the Holway Drive traffic study when you know it, please. Thanks.
I just
Deb,
like to
go ahead and
mention one
then
more thing
Janice.
that,
Yeah.
about the traffic study is that most of the people that come to Putney come up Route 91, and they didn't count any of those. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I just want to make sure you were aware of that. So,
And
Janice, go ahead.
A lot has happened since I had my question. I have a couple of other questions. My first question was a simple one to Karen. Your back was towards us. We couldn't see what you were pointing to. Where were they talking about putting a crosswalk? That was my first question.
on the plan.
I don't know if you can really.
It's basically about a third of the way if you're headed south. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's about a third of the way through the corner if you're headed south on Holway Drive.
You got it?
Oops. I don't know if they can see this.
You see the red, there's a red pen mark.
Come
Yeah,
point it
I
out
know.
here.
So we
Go-
got
you
it.
gotta
Yeah,
go
right, I
in.
see, yeah, mm-hmm,
It's next to that extra parking lot.
Okay?
yeah.
You good,
Thank you.
Janice? Yep.
Yeah.
So, my other question was, when you were talking about this study on Route 5, did that include, Route 5, from Route 5 to Old Route 5 as well, the traffic that's coming in there and then it's going straight through?
No,
Or
it
just the
it
traffic that
was-
just went?
It was specific to the part between Carroll Brown Way and Route 5.
Okay. The other piece of information that might be useful, and I'm not sure if it's even available, is how many people use the co-op on an average day and on the weekend. I mean, that would give us a pretty reliable idea of how many, if they know that, of how many cars we could anticipate using the space if we can't get a more specific transportation study done. Just a thought.
That would be a question for Wyndham Windsor to ask them, I would think, if people are trying to get more information.
I'll ask them.
I think that, from my perspective, one of the things that's lacking there and is a problem, and we've had this conversation before, but there's not signage.
Yeah.
And signage would be really helpful. Also, I think we could consider, and I don't want to say anything that we're going to do anything that we aren't going to do, but we could consider, for example, and I don't know that whether it's already labeled this way, but whether we limit trucks going through, trucks to local delivery only or something along those lines. I think there are a variety of things that we could do to reduce to a certain degree some of the traffic that goes through there and help them figure out. I mean, we've all seen people sort of circling in that intersection going, wait, which way do I go? And that's just poor signage problems. So that confuses it.
I've definitely seen a lot of lost people with state license plates going the wrong way and not knowing which road they're on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do I get back to interstate 91?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the question I'm always getting asked.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
And that would be a state too for.
all right, Wendy. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Wendy Wilson here. I just wanted to respond to Janice's question. Instead of going to Windham, you can get a very accurate count from the general manager of the co-op.
Right.
The receipts in the register show daily how many baskets go through, how many customers go through. So you can get that information data right from the co-op if that is feasible for you.
But that might not be a person per car.
No,
You don't really know how to do
you
that.
could extrapolate.
We
probably.
walk, we bike, so.
And did you have something to add?
My only comment was about the parking places on the road in front of Putney Meadows. During the summer, some of those are used by the gardeners to get to their plots.
That's true,
all.
yeah.
They bring their tools, and I'm one of them.
I guess there's no real good parking otherwise for them.
Well,
a lot of people walk,
around,
but I just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you. Okay, so we're not taking any action tonight on any of this.
No, this is just information and it's gonna come up again.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that I certainly would be very willing to entertain just so people are clear, the only reason the speed limit on Alice Holway Drive is 35 miles per hour is because that's the default speed limit if we don't post something else, and it's never been posted. As David said, you'd have a hard time getting to 35 before you had to be braking pretty hard to stop going 35s, but I do think just more signage across the board would be really valuable in that whole area. And then maybe some restrictions on types of vehicles, et cetera. But we're sort of thinking through the whole thing as to how we might be able to make it all a little more effective. But to Deb's point, I think we are definitely willing to entertain the idea of doing some changes to Old Route 5, whether it's speed limits, signage, some variation on traffic calming, and/or ultimately
Bike lanes too was mentioned.
exactly bike lanes and/or sidewalks. Is something that in the long term I think should be present.
Right.
But all right, any other questions or comments on any of that? Don't see any. Good. All right. So adopt.
Question. Is Mike here for something we've already done?
Oh, that's a good question. Mike, I don't know whether you're here, Mike, for the Affordable Housing Committee recommendation, because we've already done it if you are.
Yes, thanks. I just got done. I'm up in Montpelier, so I just got done for the night. So I'm sorry I couldn't get here earlier, but thanks.
No problem.
Nice to see familiar faces. That's a good reason to be here.
Good.
Can I just add one more thing to add about the traffic? There are a lot of people who live Fulton Brook Road area and Dummerston who also travel that road, that Alice Holway Drive.
Right.
And some of them probably use Carroll Brown Way some of the time.
Yeah.
So you have to add the people that live here as well as the people that shop. That's all I wanted to say. Just remember,
Yeah.
they're there.
All right, so next on our agenda is to adopt the public information meeting notice and agenda for 2/26/2022. That is available in the packet, and we've had the opportunity to review. Are there, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt the public informational meeting and notice and agenda for 2/26/2022.
And I will second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to adopt the, sorry, what did you
Public
call it?
information meeting.
The public informational meeting notice and agenda.
I do have one amendment, possible amendment. We say that remote access is not guaranteed, but there's no way for people to join this informational hearing except through remote access. So
Right.
I think we might want to reword that or possibly strike it.
Well, it's not
Well,
guaranteed.
no, it's
I mean,
not
I know it's
guaranteed.
not, but,
You know, if there's a storm and, you know,
yeah, but then what are we gonna do if, say, the library loses internet? Do we have a procedure for that?
no. Well, I'm not concerned about the library because they got the best internet service
yeah.
in town.
No, but I'm just raising
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
prospect that,
I think we would have to have an alternate date probably.
Right.
so then,
Yeah.
so we would
February,
just
would
do
be
that.
February 27th.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah.
because if we lost access, I think that would be
That would be a
not
problem.
individual people out in the world.
Right.
Right.
But if we lost access, that would be a problem.
Yeah. Don't jinx us, okay?
Yeah, great, thanks Eileen.
I was in IT for 25 years, I have to think of things like that.
No, we could make that decision, right?
So I think we should,
on the 26th or something? What's happening here?
yeah. So,
27th, my daughter has a meet, so I'm not gonna be here.
okay, but we could have it as an alternate, I
Yeah,
mean, it's
no,
the only
that's-
possible alternate date.
Yeah.
So,
Well, no, we could do it the first if you wanted to.
yeah, no, but that's a weekday. I think we do it either
Yeah.
the Saturday or the,
Yeah.
I think we do it the Saturday. And if for some reason we can't do it the Saturday, then I would say we probably should have on here, yeah.
Maybe an alternate, yeah, maybe we
Alternate.
should just say that first, if,
I don't want to confuse anybody.
Yeah.
I
okay,
don't.
then we'll
Okay.
just, we'll just
We'll do
hold
that.
that
We'll just
as
go
our,
from
yeah,
there.
we'll just
Yeah.
hold it.
You
Yeah.
can make that decision on the fly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Mike,
Thanks, and, just to weigh in a little bit, we took a lot of testimony from all over the state and town clerks when we just amended the law again to give towns flexibility for their town meeting dates. And, people are all over the place. Westminster is again gonna delay their meeting until May, and then they're gonna hold it outside behind the Institute there in Westminster. Dummerston's gonna go online, but the concerns that you just raised are something we tried to figure out too, is that if it's going to be all online, what about access, and what if something happens? So it's important to have flexibility, and some towns are putting an alternate date on their notices too, in case something happens. So it shows that there's been thinking the process out here, because hopefully we're not going to have to deal with this again next year, but until then, we have to do what we can to make do and keep people safe.
all right, thanks, Mike. Okay, so it has been moved and seconded to approve the adopt the public information meeting notice and agenda for 2/26/2022. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Agency of Transportation Certificate of Highway Mileage Review and Adoption. And just so we're clear on this is something we do annually, and it's updated. The numbers are provided to us. Well, we provide information, but then the numbers are provided to us by the state, and we are accepting them. Correct, Karen?
That is correct. We have no new roads. We haven't discontinued any roads. Our mileage numbers have not changed since I've been here. And just to let the board know, this is in order to, we end up with $128,849 from the state to help us maintain those roads. So this is important to keep updated every year.
All right, so do I hear a motion?
A motion to adopt the Agency of Transportation Certificate of Highway Mileage for the year ending February 10, 2022.
And I will second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Agency of Transportation Certificate of Highway Mileage. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Dummerston Putney gravel pit.
Quick update, I was approached by Chris Long. He's representing, or he's the middleman for the new owner of ABF. In your packets is a map. They'd like to do a boundary line adjustment. My recommendation and suggestion to the board is to coordinate and schedule a joint board meeting with the Dummerston Selectboard and have a conversation with them and both road superintendents.
So do we want to talk about the details of the lot line adjustment? Do we want to? Because I'm not sure. Or do we want to just move forward with setting up a?
We already saw it. Did we have, I've seen it. Did we not do it in an open? That might have been just
we
Karen.
haven't done it.
Karen, okay.
We
So
talked a
it might
little
have
bit
been a
too.
conversation.
Maybe we should talk about it here.
So, very basically, the new owner of ABF, which is also the owner of the campgrounds down there.
No,
Oh, it isn't?
no, so the campgrounds are owned by two other gentlemen.
Okay.
John Strunk owns ABF.
ABF, okay.
Bought from Mike Renard. So what they want to do, what they're proposing to both towns is to make a boundary line adjustment. So our boundary line is here.
Right.
They want to move it over here. And along this right of way, all of this property would go to the campgrounds. The campgrounds want to access this parking area and have that building for storage of tables and anything else for events. And they will enter from their property.
So we're losing acreage to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
we will
so-
lose all of this right here, and I can't determine how many acres that is.
So two questions come up. Is there compensation offered for that acreage? And two, is the acreage we'd be giving up important in the gravel pit for our use of the gravel pit?
That's a good question, and we should all be talking about it together.
Okay, yeah.
And not making a decision here.
Absolutely.
I would guess that it would, and this is just a guess, but I would guess the only way it would actually affect our volume of gravel that's accessible to us is if we got a floor adjustment in the long run, which we talked about when we were getting, because I believe that's already at the bottom of the pit in that allocated area right there.
In that spot you're saying?
In that spot, exactly. I mean, there, you know, it varies, but there are limitations to how deep, and I think.
That's higher than the bottom of the pit. on the
Right,
other
but I
side,
think in
yes.
this area, it may be the floor of the pit, but I'm not 100% sure, but.
You might be right, because.
So we might, unless we get an adjustment, we're not losing material, access to material there.
Well, I'm not 100% sure about that.
But that's your thought,
my
right?
understanding. Yeah, exactly.
So this one, we're at the bottom, and in the future, we might be able to, with an Act 250, go deeper. But up here, we're not to that point yet.
Elevation.
We're
So
right.
as it is now,
What's this in relation to this?
right, this is this area
Okay.
here. Basically, you follow this road down from ABF. There's a building that's not shown on this parcel that's, on this map that's here. or somewhere in here, and then we're talking about this area here.
Okay, how do we access it from here?
We come in
Right.
through ABF, we have a right-of-way,
Okay.
existing right-of-way that's written into our deed.
Yes.
Through
It's a separate deed,
ABF,
actually.
and it comes over here. We also have a right-of-way access, I can't remember, right here, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, more farm, exactly, and then this guy. So, but if the bottom of the pit is 350 feet, because we are at the bottom, Selectboard, or SB land, sorry, not
Right.
Selectboard, land's bottom of pit elevation equals 350 plus or minus. Here, we're still at 430.
Right.
So that's 80 feet of depth that potentially is available to us.
Right.
So as far as compensation is concerned, if we were to consider doing this, then we would be looking at the volume. That's not an insignificant amount of volume. However, you know, I don't know whether we know what the quality of the material in that area is, et cetera. But I agree with Karen that this is a discussion that should occur between the two select boards to start with. My biggest concern would be if we're allowing, you know, for all practical purposes, having parking in there would be allowing public access. I mean, I know it's technically not public because it's privately owned, but it would be a lot of people who have much closer access to the pit than they currently have, and that worries me from a liability standpoint.
A liability,
but-
a risk, and if there's a storm and our highway departments needed to get in there, you know.
Well, it wouldn't block the right of way, but,
Right.
so I think there's a lot to discuss, but I
Yeah.
don't, it's not something we can do in the absence of the
Other board.
of the other board.
So the board would like me to move ahead.
There's two ways we could approach that. You know, when we did the purchase of the gravel pit, I was the representative of this board, Hugh,
Right.
I'm blanking on Hugh's last name, but there was a representative from the Dummerston Select Board, and we met with the manager and with their assistant and with both Lee and Brian, the
Right.
highway superintendent. So we could either do that, or we could see we could either, one of us could take that on. I'm willing to do that if we want to, because I was involved in the original discussion, and/or we could see whether we want to have a complete joint meeting. I don't know, I'm happy to go either way,
Do you want me, I can contact the select board in Dummerston,
see what they
and
like.
if they feel, I don't know if they're up to speed as much
Yeah.
as we are today, because
Yeah.
they meet the same day we do. I can speak to Zeke, see if he wants to do a one-on-one, and then bring it back to his board, or if he wants to do a joint meeting. But I
Yeah,
think
mean,
the
the only
sooner, the better.
Yeah, I mean, the only advantage to having this all at the table is that everybody will have a different
Right.
perspective as to what's going on
Yeah.
there. But the other, I mean,
I'm happy to go either way.
I don't have any, I mean, if you want to take it on, that's fine with me.
I'm fine if you do it too, Josh. I think probably we're gonna fall very similar places anyway.
I mean, you know, all I would really be doing would be having that conversation and then reporting back.
Right.
You know, if there were anything that I felt was unclear to me and/or that could become unclear in the discussion between two boards, I would request that we would have a two-board meeting.
So it may be
But
more efficient just to have two people
I think-
are in the know.
I think we start that way and then
Preliminary,
go from there.
because we may want to have John Strong and
Yes.
Chris Long
Yeah.
in that meeting, if there's a joint.
I would say no to start with.
Right.
But would be my
Not
feeling,
the
but-
first meeting.
Right, but if we had
Right,
an
right.
additional meeting, yeah. No, and I think that the question of compensation is not insignificant, especially given if that volume is accessible to us. That's a really significant question.
Right.
But I think sort of broader questions of liability and risks related to it.
Well, as the board knows, we've been approached more than once.
Numerous times, yeah.
To allow parking down there.
Yeah.
And the road race as well, and it's clearly a liability and a risk to both towns.
Yeah, I mean, access through the pit, yeah. Anyway, so with your agreement,
Yeah.
Yes.
Karen will arrange a meeting, we'll figure that out and then
Okay.
we'll go
Sounds
from
good.
there. All right, so next on our agenda is Windham County Sheriff's Office letter on fair and impartial policing, and it's quite a long letter, so I'm not gonna read it. I wanna convey basically that it's what Sheriff Anderson is asserting is that they are working readily and effectively at trying to do their best on fair and impartial policing. There are some limitations to what they're able to do for statutory reasons, but that they do train and work to, and he provides some information as to sort of what their record is, and it would appear from the information provided that their record is good in comparison to some of the other departments within the state. Just, I think it seems to me his primary goal is to say, we really are working on this and we care about it, and it's part of our mission to do this well. So, you know, we will, I think, part of this is anticipation of the vote that is going to be, that's on our warning currently, which asks us, and it's a non-binding resolution, but which asks us to encourage them to be active. So I think he's taking a proactive approach to that. Karen, I don't know whether you have more to add to that?
I don't. Sheriff Anderson asked that I share the letter.
Yep.
And I gave it to the board first, and it is now on the website. It's a public document.
I believe I've seen it elsewhere, I'm not exactly
Some
sure where.
version,
Yeah.
Yeah. And other towns do have an article similar to ours about fair and impartial policing as well.
And this is addressed to the people of Windham County, so it's not specific to Putney.
Right.
It's specific, I mean, I guess really, since they're the Windham County Sheriff's Office, it's addressed to their constituency. So, but if people are interested, that's available on the website. Swift, you came back up. Do you have anything to say?
Interested, but no comment. No, not right now. Just
Okay, you just weren't on our screen until this, so you popped up.
You're on our radar.
All right. Okay, so that's available if people would like it. So next would be any other business. Does anybody have any other business? It does not look that way. I do not believe we need an executive session, do we, or do we?
We do not.
Okay. So our next regular meeting date would be 2 weeks from today, February 23rd at 5:30 p.m. Same format, same location, so on and so forth. And with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.